Hey, what's going on, guys? Mackenzie Long here. So I got this video of Joe Rogan's podcast, and he's talking to Kevin Hart. And they talk about a lot of the things that I talk about here on this channel. And I love what Kevin Hart's doing. He's starting to get into this financial literacy type realm. And I think it's pretty awesome. I'm very excited to have him. Now, this would normally be a reaction video, but this is the third time that I'm recording it since the audio didn't work the last two times. So it's not going to entirely be a reaction video, but let's go through it anyway.
When do you think you got enough? You don't have enough. There's no enough.
I don't have enough because it's not over.
It's not over.
It's not over. So, you know, when you put a cap on it, you're putting a punctuation to it. Mm-hmm. And the ambition comes from seeing what's out there that can be obtained. You know, when you see what's out there.
Like what kind? You mean physical things? Like what
when
do you mean?
See what's out there, when you see where people are really gaining wealth and knowledge from, okay? The business relationships that you're able to acquire, the people that you're able to partner with and create certain things, different revenue streams. What I found is, as a young black guy from North Philadelphia, the biggest problem within our community is knowledge.
Yeah, and I totally agree with what Kevin Hart says, and not to disagree with it on any kind of level, but now that I've been doing this for 9 years, I've been teaching people how money works because it's not something that's taught in schools. And because it's not taught in schools, it means that most people are financially illiterate. And because they're illiterate, it means they make lots of mistakes with money, and they're very easily and oftentimes taken advantage of. The lack of financial literacy in our society is a huge problem. And obviously, when you find a way to solve big problems, there's lots of opportunity and lots of money to be made. And I love what Kevin Hart is talking about here. And where I would disagree slightly is, now that I've been doing it this long with hundreds of recruits and now thousands of clients and students, is that it is equal opportunity. It's not just in a particular neighborhood. It's not just a particular color or a particular race or a particular sex. This is happening universally. It's happening all over our country. It's happening all over the world. And the challenge is there's just not enough financial information for people to make good decisions. And this is kind of exactly what Kevin is starting to talk about.
We don't know. Debt is welcomed because it's celebrated. That's all we know. Yeah, I'm gonna get that credit card. I'm gonna that credit card up, and it is what it is. They got to figure that out. I ain't got it after that. Yeah, well, you know what? I'm getting student loans. They gave it to me. Then after that, shit, it is what it is. I'm figuring it out.
And I love what he says here. He says that debt is celebrated, and that's why people keep doing it. And this is so true. You see this in every aspect of our society, that people will have a $800 or $1,000 car payment, but they're putting $0 a month into a savings plan. And so if you're doing those types of things, you are headed for disaster. The challenge is, if you don't know you're headed towards a cliff, is it your fault or is it not? That's kind of exactly what's happening in most people's financial lives, is they have no idea how this stuff works. So they're making all types of errors and they're getting taken advantage of because they simply don't know what to do.
I put a cable bill in your name, you put it in my name, we can switch it up, whatever. They do it, then let's just put it in somebody else's name. It's welcome. The hustle is welcome. The knowledge of banks and what you can do or can't do is you don't even get it because you go to check cashing places. The reason why you go to check cashing places is because I don't want to go do that shit with the banks. I don't trust that. Go right there to check cashing place. Let me get mine. Let me get mine now. Take $30, whatever. Let me get it. The knowledge isn't given. So it's not till you obtain that knowledge and understanding that you go, oh shit.
Yeah, and that's where most people are at, is that they simply lack the financial literacy to be able to make good decisions. And unfortunately, it's not until you actually get it that you start to understand that you didn't have it. So there's this unique thing that's happening, and that people who are financially illiterate don't even know that they should be seeking it. mostly because we get our financial education generally from our parents. And if your family was anything like mine, they struggled with money. They argued about money. I think my parents actually even split over money. And so that's happening in so many families. And the only information we get about it is that we're supposed to struggle with it, that it's supposed to be hard, that we're not actually supposed to save any of it because that's what we see everybody else doing. So it kind of becomes this echo chamber of bad information. And then when good information tries to get in there, it doesn't sound accurate because it's the misinformation is so loud that trying to put good information into that individual or into that circumstance doesn't jive because it's outside of everything that they've heard before.
Oh, this is why you put money up. Oh, this is how you increase versus decrease. Oh, this is how you earn on your money. Oh, wow. I can gain wealth by investing in what? The stock world is what? How many people partake in the stock world? And is there a part that isn't necessarily gambling? Is there a low risk part? The information isn't there.
Right.
So it's not till I got to a certain level and a certain group of people where I got it. And now that I got it, I want to give it.
I love Kevin. And then I think he's not just hilarious. I love when he teamed up with The Rock. And I think he's done a great job through his career. So I'm really excited to see some of the things that he's doing here. And he's absolutely right, is that, and this is exactly what happened to me, was I was going through a situation where I was almost 10 years into the working force and I had really nothing to show for it. I hadn't had much money saved. I didn't really build much wealth. I had built some wealth, but then I lost it when the whole 2008, 2009 happened. And it was this whole interesting perspective that I had. And I said, man, I don't want to keep repeating these 10 years over and over again. I think that's what most families do. They go 10 years of not really understanding how money works and they don't get ahead. And then they just repeat those 10 years over and over and over again. And before you know it, they get to the end of their life and they have nothing to show for it. They've made maybe $1 million, $1.5 million, maybe $2 million in the course of their lifetime. But at the end of it, all they have is their pockets turned inside out and a cabinet full of medicine, and that's all they really have to show about their life. And I didn't want that to happen to me, so I started getting financially educated. I started asking questions. I wanted to know more about it, and as I learned more about it, I started asking my friends and family about it. And what was crazy was they didn't even know basic definitions on the things that I was talking about. They have no idea, they had no idea how to really put these things in place, and they were afraid to ask questions. It's almost like sexual impotence, it's financial impotence, but they're afraid to ask questions and get information because it's this taboo topic that for some reason we kind of go inside. Instead of asking for help, we hide. And so it just perpetuates this problem that we have because it's not even a conversation we can have. It's not something that you would go to your friends with and say, hey, I'm struggling to pay my bills. What is it that I'm supposed to do? It's not until we almost hit that wall and have a car crash that we go, man, what the heck is going on here? Because we're used to watching our family live paycheck to paycheck and struggle with money. And that's really all we know. So unless we can get this information out there, that's really what's going to keep happening in our society.
Now I'm going to give it to the people that I know need it most. And for me, that younger generation of black people that don't understand the cool thing is in financial longevity. Not in the now. It's not in the moment for jewelry, not in the moment for the car. It's in the longevity. It's in building so at the end of the day you can say, look at what I have. Look at what I worked for. Look at what I have that's mine.
And there's something so special about when you've actually built something, when you go from this position of being in debt and not having any money to starting to get out of debt and start building some wealth and then start actually building wealth. And businesses, there's an entirely different feeling behind it. Like I just wrecked my car, right? But it's just an inconvenience. Now, when I was broke, had I done that, I probably would have had to drive my car for months or years after that because I wouldn't be able to afford to fix it. So it was a huge issue versus now, once you learn how to start saving some money, you can put some money away because this stuff is going to happen. Well, then now it just kind of becomes an inconvenience. Yeah, it sucked, but I was prepared for it when it happened. And I love that he wants to reach into the community and start educating people on this because this is how we fix our society. It's not going to be fixed by politicians. It's not going to be fixed by laws. It's not going to be fixed because the government decides to say or do something about taxes. Like, that's not going to fix anything. Where we fix this is on the individual level. When we can get into that household and talk to that individual, we can talk to that kid, we can talk to that parent and help them fix their financial lives. And that's how we start to fix a family. And once we fix enough families, we can fix community. Once we fix enough communities, we can fix a city. And when we fix enough cities, we can fix the state. And when we fix enough states, we can fix the country. But this is how it happens, and it has to happen in this process of building people's financial literacy and helping them to understand how money works. Because without it, how are they ever going to be able to get ahead?
Monopoly is real, but you have to have the financial understanding. And I teamed up, I got Chase right now, we're doing something called financial fitness, where it's just about me educating people on money.
Really?
How to manage money, how to be smart with your money. But it's coming from a person that f***ed up money. I didn't always understand it. I owed in taxes before because I didn't understand it in the beginning. I had bad credit. Credit cards wouldn't take me because I maxed out, whatever. I've been there. I've done it. Thank God I was able to fix it and get on the right path. And now that I have the knowledge, I want to give it. Who simply don't know. So when you say the end game is getting to a point where I've taken all the knowledge that I've been able to get over these years and really applying it and providing family wealth.
And that's as basic as it really is in starting to build wealth. And people will say, well, you can't educate people out of poverty. And well, that's not entirely true. They've done many studies on this. I have a whole YouTube video about that, about financial literacy. And it actually talks about people who become financially literate actually start getting out of those situations that they're in because they start to see hope. Just like anything else in our life, the more educated we are about it, the better we can do with it. And money is exactly the same way, that when we start to learn about it, when we understand how these things work, when we know how to play the game, if you will, then we can do better at that game. And this particular game is simply just understanding how money works.
And when you can merge yourself with good people and follow the paths that you see that these good, successful people have taken, you then become a part of a world and group that nobody expected you to be in. So for me, I now have the position to do that and take all of these relationships and all this knowledge and take it back to the people that need it most. I like to share. I don't want it all by myself.
Now, are you doing this in the financial stuff? Are you doing this in videos? Are you like releasing
Not
videos?
in videos, no.
Like,
We're starting. We're going to start financial fitness, like I said, with Chase, JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon, very good guy, Tashonda as well. They're help leading in charge and just saying, how can we get to the people that we feel need the financial information the most? So I said, put me out there. Like, let's go directly to the consumer.
And that really is the only way to do it. I'm so glad that Kevin has kind of noticed that, because there's tons of people, not just in the financial industry, because obviously, why is JP Morgan and Chase having to turn to Kevin Hart? No offense, I love the guy, but why are they having to turn to him in order to teach people about money? Why aren't they doing it? And this is exactly the problem that we've solved decades ago, but is just now starting to really become prevalent. It's really starting to get big in the industry, is going and doing this kneecap to kneecap and teaching people individually, because that's where they need to hear it. It's one thing to stand on a stage or put up a commercial or do something like that, because we all know these companies, right? Like if I said Nationwide, how many commercials have you heard from them? I think the average person has probably heard hundreds of commercials, or I could name a bunch of other companies that you've heard commercials of if you haven't heard of Nationwide. But there's these companies out there that want to help people do better financially. And then there's this whole base, probably 70, 80, 90% of our population that wants to do better financially. And they know who these companies are. And these companies know that they want help, but the two of them don't know how to talk to each other, right? Like how many times have you called Nationwide and said, hey, I'd like to do better financially. What can you do for me? How can you help me get on track for my retirement? You've probably never done that, because everybody I ask about that says that they haven't done it. So I would assume that you probably haven't done it. And what that means is there's companies that want to help, there's people that want help, but they can't talk to each other. And that's why talking to a financial professional is so important, because that's what we do, is we go out and we shop the marketplace. We figure out what the individual needs and where they're at and where they want to go. And then we can plug in those products and services that are best suited for that individual so that way they can walk that path. It's almost like a financial GPS. So that way you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing and where you're supposed to be going and where you are along the journey, whether you need to speed up a little bit, whether you need to slow down a little bit, whether you need to make a right or left-hand turn. The only way to know that is if you're headed somewhere and you know where you're headed. The challenge for most people is they will travel down the road of life never knowing really where they're going or how to get there, and then they show up in their elderly years and go, man, I can't believe I didn't make it. And when I say that, it sounds kind of silly, but that's how most people handle their financial life. So if you feel like it's something you're struggling with, if you're part of the high 90% of the population that is having an issue with that, which almost everybody is, seek help. You can go read books. There's a great book, I think you can find it on Amazon. It's called How Money Works. It's by Steve Siebold and Tom Matthews. They've been in the industry for a long time. They teamed up with Andy Horner, he's kind of like the Walt Disney of books, and so he's done a great job at making it actually fun and understandable and a great way for you to start getting your financial education. I also took that book and created a course off of it. If you would like to do that, that's down below. It's through Teachable. If you use the coupon code, it's 995 off, so you get it completely free. No gotchas or anything like that. It doesn't ask for your social. It doesn't ask for any personal information or your credit card number. All you have to do is plug in an email address that you'd like to use and your password, and that's to create your login for Teachable. But outside of that, nothing personal that you have to put in there. Doesn't ask you for any information or any money when you use that coupon code. So use that, and at least that way you can start creating an understanding of the vocabulary, and you know what words to use. And then when you go talk to somebody, maybe it's myself, and can help you with this, or maybe you don't like redheads or you just don't like me in general, that's perfectly fine too. Take that information and that vocabulary, and now you know if they're actually putting you on the right track or not. You can start having a conversation. You know what compounding interest is, or time value of money, or your risk tolerance. You have an idea of what's supposed to happen so that you're not surprised when you walk into it, and that way you can actually start getting help. And you can also know if they're doing what's in your best interest or not. And either way that goes, it's very helpful for you, and I hope you get something out of that. Please use it. And if you wouldn't mind, make sure you smash that like button. Also leave some comments down below if this is something that's impacted you in a huge way. And then don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well. That way you can stay up to date with this content and as new things come out. And as always, have a great day. Catch you later. Bye.